Remember when Temu ads hijacked every scroll? Rainbow vacuum sealers, $3 sneakers, and free money just for tapping. It felt like a global digital invasion, with the company spending an estimated $3 billion on marketing in 2023 alone. 2 years later, the confetti's settled. Tariffs, lawsuits, and a tidal wave of refund demands are pulling the app's fairy tale numbers back to earth.
Now, Temu is owned by a Chinese company. It's only been around since July 2022, but 50 million people have already downloaded the app. They're attracted by those eye-popping deals. But beware, the BBB has received 900 complaints nationwide. Many involve product quality issues, shipping delays, and never receiving items paid for.
Temu's magic trick hinged on a dusty customs rule called de minimis. For years, this provision, formerly known as Section 321 of the Tariff Act of 1930, allowed any package worth under $800 to waltz into the US completely duty-free. Ship a $4 hoodie straight from a factory in Guangdong to a customer in Ohio, and you paid Washington Zip. This gave platforms like Temu and Shein, which together accounted for over 30% of all de minimis shipments, a massive structural advantage. Big box retailers, stuck paying hefty port tariffs, warehousing costs, and US labor wages, howled that the playing field was impossibly tilted. Washington promised reform. Powerful logistics and business lobbyists stalled it. Finally, on May 2, 2025, the loophole was effectively axed for Chinese parcels, slapping them with duties up to 145%. Temu tried to bury the pain, but shoppers noticed immediately. Kitchen gadgets rose 19%, leggings 34%, and some consumer electronics shot up by 57%. People who once filled carts for $20 now face surcharges bigger than the subtotal. Few things radicalize a casual shopper like watching a hoodie leap from $9 to $17 at the final swipe. By late May 2025, users posted screenshots of their checkout screens exposing the newly added fees. TikTokers filmed themselves rage-quitting the app mid-purchase. Twitter threads showed identical items that were now cheaper on Amazon, even with Prime shipping. Temu flung coupons and price adjustment offers to staunch the bleeding, but trust was cooked. The numbers tell the story. Weekly active users slid 43% from April to June, and new installs plummeted from 2.3 million to under 500,000 in the same period. Its once unbeatable Play Store ranking dropped from a top 3 position to number 58. Internally, leaked documents projected a staggering 51% collapse in US monthly active users, from a peak of 58 million in March to a projected 40 million by midsummer. Social sentiment flipped, and angry customers weren't content to just vent online, they lawyered up. Inside 6 weeks, 4 class action lawsuits landed in federal courts across Illinois and New York, all singing the same tune: bait-and-switch pricing, invisible import fees, and the use of gamified checkout timers that pressure you to smash buy before the full cost appears. One filing quotes an Ohio grandma who bought 6 garden lanterns for what she thought was $38, only to be secretly billed an extra $42 in import adjustments. Then came the haymaker. On September 5, 2025, the Federal Trade Commission whacked Temu's parent company, Whaleco Inc., with a $2 million civil penalty, the first ever enforcement action under the Informed Consumers Act. Regulators said Temu violated the act by hiding the identities and contact information of its high-volume sellers and burying complaint portals inside pop-up carnival games, making them nearly impossible to find. From now on, every product page must clearly display seller information and provide a toll-free number staffed by actual humans. To ensure they comply, Temu was slapped with a decade-long compliance leash, requiring annual reports and granting the FTC inspection powers. Investors sprinted for the exits. Parent company PDD Holdings shed $16 billion in market cap before lunch. Parallel to US lawsuits over pricing and dark patterns, European consumer groups and regulators have been flagging hazardous chemicals in Temu-listed goods. A coordinated BYUK dossier of national test documents toys with hormone-disrupting phthalates up to 240 times above EU limits, slime products releasing excessive borates, PFAS, detected in disposable tableware and jackets, and multiple categories exceeding heavy metal thresholds. Authorities have also posted safety gate alerts for Temu sold children's items with illegal phthalate levels. These findings have fed EU investigations under the Digital Services Act and mounting enforcement pressure across member states. When the direct from China model became cost prohibitive, Temu did what any corner giant does. It tried to onshore its logistics by renting American warehouses. It was a smart idea, but brutally pricey. US labor, commercial real estate, storage, and last-mile delivery services aren't exactly found in the bargain bin. Worse, the endless, almost magical product catalog imploded. Apparel variety dropped an estimated 38%. The quirky off-brand electronics that were a hallmark of the platform vanished almost overnight. Open the app today, and you'll see the same rotating bedding sets and off-size sneakers. Hardly the digital treasure hunt that hooked millions of shoppers. The gamified spin-the-wheel deals also lose their sparkle when a mystery box costs $25, not $5. Competitors swiftly circled the wounded beast. Shein bulked up its own US inventory and logistics, Amazon slapped a no hidden tariff badge on its product pages, and Walmart began actively courting ex-Temu sellers. Analysts call the pivot necessary but existential. Corporate speak for, you have to do this to survive, but it might kill the company anyway. Revenue up, profit down is corporate code for, we're bleeding money to stay afloat. PDD Holdings' Quarter 1 2025 earnings report was a bloodbath for investors. While revenue climbed 10% year-over-year to $13 billion, net profit plunged a catastrophic 47% to $2.03 billion. The cause? Soaring logistics costs from the warehouse pivot, massive legal reserves for the incoming lawsuits, and a 30% increase in ad spend as the company tried to stop the bleeding. These factors drove its operating margin down from 28% to just 12%, the lowest since 2019. In response, S&P slapped the company onto negative watch, citing regulatory overhang and margin pressure. Even the ratings agencies no longer believe the old playbook can work. Temu quietly chopped its US marketing budget by a third. An ad tracking firm Media Radar estimated that its domestic ad placements fell a staggering 68% between May and August. Leaked internal forecasts showed Temu expecting a 25% sequential revenue drop in Q3, the first such decline since its launch. Data is only half the picture. The disillusioned shoppers supply the rest. Carla, a Phoenix teacher, budgeted her entire back-to-school list on Temu, 47 items that came to $186. At checkout, a line item labeled Import Adjustments added another $94. She abandoned the cart in disgust and drove to Walmart, where she paid $240 for everything. I wasted 2 hours of my life for nothing, she told a local news station. Then there's Marcus, an Etsy seller, who bought a bulk order of jewelry charms that arrived mislabeled, tarnished, and unusable. Temu's support offered him store credit, but when he tried to contact the vendor, the store had vanished, only to relist the same defective products under a new name a week later. Stories like these flooded the Better Business Bureau, which has fielded over 4,900 complaints against the company, resulting in a humiliating customer rating of 1 out of 5 stars. Even influencers who fueled Temu's rise feel stiffed. Several mid-tier creators claim they're still waiting on affiliate payments from the spring, with some owed thousands of dollars. Nature hates a vacuum, and e-commerce hates an unfilled digital shopping cart. Amazon immediately capitalized on the chaos, rolling out a price match pledge on low-cost goods sourced from outside China and aggressively promoting its next-day delivery for essentials. Shein, already a Gen Z favorite, accelerated the expansion of its US warehouses and plastered no hidden fees at checkout banners across its app. Even AliExpress, once the running punchline for painfully slow shipping, launched consolidated air freight lanes out of Los Angeles, allowing it to bypass many of the de minimis headaches. The collective pitch from all of them was simple and devastatingly effective. The price you see is the price you pay. Adobe's Digital Economy Index confirmed the shift, showing that US spending on Chinese ultra-cheap platforms was down 28% from April to July, while alternative domestic and international discount marketplaces gained 12% in the same period. It was the same consumer dollars, just flowing to a different logo. It's easy to cast Temu as the sole villain, but thousands of Chinese factory owners and managers are feeling the whiplash just as acutely. Many companies took out loans to buy new injection molding machines and hire more staff, assuming the flood of US orders was endless. One Shenzhen-based electronics manager told the South China Morning Post that his orders from US platforms nosedived by 60% in a single quarter, forcing him to lay off 40% of his staff. Smaller suppliers, who were pressured to accept razor-thin margins to get on the platform, are now stuck with massive amounts of unsold inventory. Many are being forced to dump these products on domestic sites like Pinduoduo, where profit margins are even thinner than a sheet metal screw. Even if Temu manages to stabilize, the ship it for pennies gold rush is over. Reflecting this new reality, Beijing's state media has shifted its tone, now urging manufacturers to focus on high-quality, brand-focused exports. The market trends are loud and clear. Temu will likely continue to shrink its presence in North America and Europe, where regulatory costs are high, while aggressively chasing emerging markets in Latin America and Southeast Asia, where de minimis loopholes still exist. Expect more layoffs and even slimmer ad budgets. Data privacy lawsuits are already queued up in Illinois and California, citing concerns over data handling. Rebuilding consumer trust after a bait-and-switch on pricing is a brutal uphill battle. Just ask any airline that tried to relabel baggage fees as a carrier surcharge. Unless Temu unveils a radically transparent pricing model and actually sticks to it, its market share will keep bleeding. Meanwhile, its competitors and future copycats will have learned a valuable lesson. It's okay to undercut the market, but never, ever bury the extras. Temu's downward spiral isn't just a case of corporate fraud, it's a powerful warning about the true cost of too good to be true. Every click on a $4 smartwatch feeds a complex global system built on exploiting tax gaps, squeezing supplier margins to unsustainable levels, and relying on hidden checkout processes. When governments finally decide to remove one of the foundational loopholes, the entire house of cards folds. The saga proves that cheap is not the same as value, and in the long run, transparency consistently beats gimmicks. Ethical shopping advocates hope this saga nudges consumers to think more critically and favor retailers that list all-in landed costs up front, pay living wages, and comply with product safety regulations. Will we remember this lesson the next time a flashy ad promises free money? History says maybe not, but now we have a glaring billion-dollar example in our rearview mirror. If there's one thing Wall Street despises more than bad numbers, it's uncertainty. In the wake of the tariff and legal troubles, JP Morgan downgraded Pirelli Holdings from overweight to neutral, slashing its price target from $165 to a mere $98. Short interest in the stock tripled to 6.2% as hedge funds bet on its decline, and the company's bond spreads widened, significantly hiking its future borrowing costs. The negativity wasn't just external. Morale inside the company tanked. Anonymous reviews on the professional network Blind showed employee satisfaction plummeting by 30%. When your own engineers and project managers are rating your company 2 out of 5 stars, you're not just battling regulators and angry customers, you're battling a war from within. Remember the trend of humble bragging about a massive haul of $2 teas and $5 gadgets? That's officially cringe now. A wave of de-influencing clips has swept across TikTok and Instagram, with creators warning their followers off ultra-cheap hauls and highlighting the poor quality and ethical issues. Climate-minded shoppers are now more vocal, highlighting the massive carbon cost of individually air freighting disposable widgets across the globe. a practice that generates up to 30 times more CO2 than sea freight. Temu became the undisputed poster child for the wastefulness of fast commerce excess. Once a brand wears that kind of scarlet letter, no discount, coupon, or flashy game can ever truly scrub it off. If this story changed how you think about bargain hunting, share it with the friend who is still spinning those prize wheels. Temu's dramatic arc is a masterclass in what happens when you build a global empire on a foundation of regulatory sand. Close one loophole and fractures spread throughout the entire structure. Add a tsunami of lawsuits, a full-blown customer revolt, and a wave of investor panic, and you get the spectacular downfall we're watching in real time. Those unbelievable wholesale prices weren't magic. They were subsidized by tax gaps, hidden fees, and a complete shrug at the ensuing chaos. When the loophole vanished, so did the illusion. Shoppers learned that a surcharge doesn't feel like a deal. Regulators learned that transparency enforcement works. And competitors learned that sometimes playing fair can finally pay off. Temu may limp on in some form, but the shop like a billionaire swagger is gone for good. The bill finally came due, and for once, the giant blinked first. Let's hope we all remember what happens when we confuse what is cheap with what is smart.
I know you're not following what I'm saying anyway, right? That's okay, that doesn't matter. The real question is this: is all this legal? Absolutely fucking not.